Hi there. Welcome to the first installment of Bible Stories by Generation Bridge. This is something we've been trying to do for a little while now, and I'm still getting used to using the equipment. So this will be my first time using some of the new equipment. Hopefully it'll all work for you, and hopefully you'll get something out of this. One of the big things that we want to try and understand is a little bit more about how people from different generations are using the Bible today to deal with life's issues or to deal with their own issues. I've come to rely on it a lot more within the last few years. I would say I came to Christ probably about 6 years ago. And the more I read into it and the more I read the Bible, the more it gives me comfort, helps me figure out what's going on in the world, helps me process what I need to process. When asked about which stories we might view as being particularly helpful for us or ones that really resonate with us or stick with us, there's a lot. I really love some of the stories from the Old Testament and some of the stories from the New Testament, and it's hard sometimes to think through which one might be more meaningful than others, and I'd have to say that there probably isn't. It probably depends on when you're reading and what you're dealing with. I think that's really where the Bible comes in for me, is that I could read things multiple times, and each time it has a different meaning for me. It could just very much depend on what I'm going through, and it does feel sometimes that it's talking to you and through you. I was thinking through, I love Esther, the story of Esther, and I love some of the other stories, Daniel and through some of the old judges and other things like that. And there's so many things that come through in the New Testament that really bring me comfort as well, knowing some of the miracles and the things that Jesus was able to do, but really seeing that God had come to us in flesh and to live like us and among us, basically descending down to us, and then paying the ultimate price so that we might have eternity with Him. Those things obviously really resonate. And one of the stories that continually brings me comfort comes from Luke 23, and it involves the crucifixion, which is this time when Jesus is up on the cross, and it's just horrible. I mean, all these people who are cheering and mocking and tearing this man down, even if they didn't believe in him, knowing that he wasn't fully guilty of all the things that they were saying that he was guilty of, just seeing that his execution was sort of for the greater good. And we can see so many different parallels to that in our society today, that we will mock and tear down people just because we feel that they are dangerous to our society. And you can go all different ways with that, and I'm not trying to get political in that, but here's an innocent man who is being put up on the cross and dying a terrible death. But out of all this tragedy, there's this little element of the thieves on the cross, and it just sticks with me. There are moments when I'm judging myself, or I'm feeling judged, or I'm feeling like I'm not enough and I don't deserve this, and how can I earn it? And then I have to realize that it's not earned; it's through faith. It's through faith, and not what we do and how we do it in order to get through. It's belief and trust in Jesus, and the story of the criminals on the cross really hits that home for me. It gives me such comfort to know that no, you don't have to necessarily do this, and this in order to make it, because at that moment he repented of his sins, and he turned towards Christ. He turned to God and away from sin, and Jesus says to him, "You'll be in the kingdom with me." So let me read this story. I'll start it at, it's Luke 23, starting at 26 in my Bible, the ESV. It's under the crucifixion. And it says, "And as they led him away, they seized one Simon of Cyrene, who was coming in from the country, and laid on him the cross to carry it behind Jesus. And there followed him a great magnitude of people, and of women who were mourning and lamenting for him. But turning to them, Jesus said, 'Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming when they will say, Blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed. Then they will begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, Cover us. For if they do these things when the wood is green, what will happen when the wood is dry?'" 2 others who were criminals were led away to be put to death with him. And when they came to the place that is called the Skull, there they crucified him, and the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. And Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they cast lots to divide his garments. And the people stood by watching. But the rulers scoffed at him, saying, He saved others, let him save himself, if he is the Christ of God, his chosen one. The soldiers also mocked him, coming up to him and offering him sour wine, and saying, If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself. There was also an inscription over him, This is the King of the Jews. One of the criminals who were hanged railed at him, saying, Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us. But the other rebuked him, saying, Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we are receiving the due reward of our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong. And he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And he said to him, Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. And so here's an example of someone who is just so much greater than any of us. In the midst of all of this, I mean, he's saying to his persecutors, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And this just goes to the mercy and the grace that God gives us through his Son, Jesus Christ. And I just take great comfort in that. I know that I don't have to be enough, so to speak. I don't have to be great. I just have to be me. I want to be better. I would like to be more Christ-like. I will continue to keep trying, but I know I will fail, and I know that I will make mistakes, but I know that he will forgive me because he is who he is, not one of us. We see today so many times that you make one mistake and people are ready to write you off. And there are others who will look at something that you say or you believe, and they will say that actually doing away with you would be for the greater good. And in a little bit of that, we have to understand that every time we do that, we are feeding into a spirit that is not forgiving, not merciful, a spirit that wants to divide us and not unite us. And in this, I get a taste of the mercy that God has and the grace that he has that we don't have. And if we accept Jesus in our lives, we might realize that. And then we might say, I would like to be more like Jesus, knowing that I can't be like Jesus in this body. Or maybe I can, but it's extremely difficult and almost impossible, right? But I know that he'll forgive me as long as I have my faith in him. So that brings me great comfort. I wanted to share that today. It makes me feel good at moments when I'm questioning whether or not I've done something right within this religion, and then I can realize that it's really about faith in Christ. That's really what it comes down to. That he did what needed to be done in order to save me, and I just have to believe that he did that for me. So I hope that you have a wonderful day. If this meant anything to you, great. If it didn't, I'm sorry. But there's so many other stories and so many other ways that this Bible can touch you. And I just encourage you to start reading it. Many of you already are, and to read it more. I don't do it often enough. I'm sure when I die, there'll be one of those questions, what do you regret? And it might be, I didn't pray enough or I didn't read enough in the Bible. But at the end of the day, I know that this has helped me through a lot of hard times. It's helped me to understand the world, and it's helped me to understand people and a heck of a lot better than I did before. So I encourage you to take a look at it and see if it talks to you. Bye for now.